is posted. Okay, well, welcome and thank you for joining us for our Tuesday Talent Series on this beautiful Valentine's Day 2023. Today we will be going over why should you hire a veteran. I'd like to start by thanking our 2023 winter sponsor, Plant Moran. And Plant Moran is among the nation's largest certified public accounting and business advisory firms. Unlike other accounting firms, they don't have office-level profit centers, meaning their offices don't compete. Instead, they exercise firm-wide collaboration, their one firm model. This means clients receive the collective power of the firm and the expertise you need regardless of location. In 2022, Forbes magazine recognized Plant Moran on the list of the best tax and accounting firms, and they were on the list of companies that care in People magazine. For 24 years running, they have been on Fortune magazine's list of 100 best companies to work for. Their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council has been in place for more than 15 years. Their focus on diversity led to the creation of their Women in Leadership program. Plant Moran has one of the highest female leadership teams of CPA firms in the United States. We're so pleased that Plant Moran is our Tuesday Talent sponsor for 2023. Their office is located at 1321 Oak Ridge Drive in Fort Collins, and you can find more information about Plant Moran at plantmoran.com. Let me go ahead and make sure that everyone is admitted. Just get everybody in. Perfect. All right, and next, I would like to introduce our speaker today. Today, we are joined by Chuck Cruz. And he has served 20 years in the United States Air Force. He was an information systems operator and served several tours in the professional military education. He was an Airman Leadership School instructor and an NCO Academy instructor. And his last tour before retirement was the Airman Leadership School Flight Chief for Ramstein AB, Germany. Before his time on active duty, he spent many years in the United States Air Force, Europe. One of the highlights of his career was serving as a special liaison to the Hungarian Air Force as they sought NATO membership and were subsequently admitted. During his spare time, Chuck's favorite activities are attending concerts and live music festivals. He enjoys exploring Colorado with his fiancée, Gina. He also enjoys spending time with his dog, Boomer, gaming, and watching sports. Prior to coming to the CDLE team, Chuck served as a veteran support advisor for Front Range Community College, Larimer campus. So today we're going to hear from Chuck as he presents to us. And before we get started, I just wanted to mention that all resources are recorded on the Fort Collins Chamber website, so you can go back and reference any of these at any time. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Yvonne Myers, who is our VP of Strategic Initiatives. And to introduce myself today, I'm Taylor Hayden. I'm our Business Relations Coordinator here at the Chamber, and I'm filling in for Yvonne today as she is out at a WACE conference in Sacramento. All right. And then for our next session, if you're interested in joining us, we will be talking about sense and respond or become irrelevant. In this session, we'll talk about changes in industry and society, bringing both problems and opportunities. Some organizations will thrive and others will become irrelevant. There is a simple but not always easy process to follow that helps you deal with both types of challenges. Attend this virtual presentation to find out more. Thank you for joining us, and now I am going to pass the stage over to Chuck Cruz.
Okay, well, thank you, Taylor. I appreciate the introduction. That's very kind of you. I wanted to start off with just a quick overview of some of the things that we'll talk about. We still see that preview, don't we? We still have these technical issues. So, But there's often a question of why should I hire a veteran? And I hope to share some information on some of the myths and some of the stereotypes associated with veterans, and also talk a little bit about what are some of the benefits. There are both very tangible and some intangible benefits to hiring a veteran. What I'd like to start off with, though, is a quick video. It's less than 5 minutes long, and I would like you to reflect on what you see and hear from these veterans. Please keep in mind that no veteran speaks for every veteran. These are just some common themes that you may encounter when you talk to a veteran and how they adjusted from military life to civilian life.
Chuck, go ahead and share your screen with us here.
Okay. All right. Let me get back to the right one. I can't get that to come up. Here we go. There we go. All right, let's try this again. Is that better?
All right, there we got it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
When September 11th happened, I remember the feeling was it was like a very personal attack on us as a country. I wanted to do something impactful. I wanted something that had a meaning behind it. And certainly the Army, there was meaning there.
When you're at sea, it's your primary concern as an engineer is to keep the ship moving forward and keep the lights on, and you don't have time to be afraid. You have a job to do.
My first job at 23 in the Army was in charge of 100 people and millions of dollars worth of equipment. You had such an important job that giving it up, it's really hard to figure out where you fit after that.
I don't ever know what to say when somebody says thank you for your service. Because I don't think they even know what they're thanking me for, because I don't know what they're thanking me for.
I think my response normally is, you're welcome. I gained way more from it than I lost.
Don't thank me for my service, because it's cliche and it's normalizing, and it almost seems now obligatory.
I don't like it when people thank me for my service. It sounds like you've done your part, you're done with service, thank you so much, and now move along. I had been a helicopter pilot, I had been an S6. I expected when I came out that I was just gonna be, having to decide which of the jobs that I wanted.
I applied for 800 jobs. 800 to get one. And it's like that experience in the Army didn't count. It was like null and void. A hero? No.
No, I do not consider myself to be a hero.
No. Not by a long shot. To my kids.
It's a small number of people who deserve that.
There's around 7,500 heroes between Iraq and Afghanistan.
I don't think that you can thank a hero because they're not here.
I don't think I did anything that was heroic or did anything special for anybody. I had a lot of anxiety when I came home, which was weird because you'd think that you'd have more anxiety being overseas, but it was transitioning back home that was, pretty hard for me.
It's not having a network, or not knowing where I belong, not knowing where exactly I fit in. It's pretty much you're plopped down and it's like, okay, find your way now.
When I first got back from Iraq and Afghanistan, I had to deal with a perception of who I was as a veteran. The vast majority of civilian perception of veterans is that we're broken, that we're riddled with PTSD, or that we have so little skills that all we can do is knuckle drag.
I hadn't quite realized that people were looking at me that way, that not only am I a big guy, that I'm sort of a weapon because I was in the military.
It's a stereotype, that's all it is. You probably pass 1,000 veterans a day and you have no idea that they're veterans because they just act like normal human beings.
The majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, are positively impacted by our service because it brings strengths and attributes and skills out of us.
Veterans are entrepreneurial, they understand diversity, they're incredible leaders.
So many of us have been through really, really weird and tough situations, and we're such better persons for them. And if you're a hiring manager, you know a hiring manager, say, hey, our next hire should potentially be a veteran. That's really the best way that you can say thank you.
Don't thank me. Let's talk about how we can make society better for veterans who are having a hard time reintegrating.
There are better things to say, like, oh, you were in the military. What did you do? How long did you serve?
Tell me about your service. But don't ask that if you don't really care or you don't want to know the answer. But if you do, feel free to ask it. That's a way that we close this divide, right? Is share these experiences with each other.
Please don't thank me, join me. Come out and serve with me and see the fact that I'm not done serving. I'm not even close. Thank me when I'm done at the end of the day. Thank me 50 years from now for all the things that we did together. Don't thank me now for what I did in the past.
So I always found that video to be very powerful, and I do want to add one. Whoa, there we go. One small disclaimer on that is the issue of thanking veterans. That is a fairly recent phenomenon. Probably started somewhere around 10 or 12 years ago. And I remember the first time somebody said that to me, I kind of had the similar reaction. I wasn't really sure what to say. I don't think you're ever going to offend a veteran by thanking them for their service. If it's done with sincerity. I understand the frustration of a few of those veterans because I have been in situations where it came across as very obligatory and almost like, thank you for your service. Now, what do you want to eat? Type thing. That is a bit disappointing because I think, like most veterans would probably say, don't if you really don't feel that, then don't feel obligated to say that. But I always want to throw that in there because apparently some folks aren't enamored by that, and it's usually the younger generation that aren't sure how to react. Our Vietnam War era veterans and Gulf War veterans do seem to appreciate hearing that because you have to remember, particularly Korea, Vietnam, they weren't welcomed back the way our 9/11 veterans were welcomed back. And they appreciate hearing that. So I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts later as we get to the question session. But what I'd like to talk about for a little while is the JVSG program mostly, and its background information, some of the benefits for hiring resources, and then some resources if you're interested in setting up a veteran-friendly environment in your business. I like this picture here. This is a picture of veteran.
Just
Yes.
Real quick, could you reshare your screen? We can't see the PowerPoint on our end.
Oh, okay. Well, that is strange. Okay. Oh, how about now? Okay.
There it is.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Why can I not make that work? I apologize here. Hang on, let's try. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. So can you see that now?
We can, but it's not in the presentation slides.
It should be on the agenda. Well, let's stop sharing and let's try and.
We tried to do our troubleshooting before, but with technology, sometimes it just does not want to work with us. So let's.
What about that? Okay, that must be where it's coming from.
I can see it, Chuck.
Can you see the okay.
Introduction, hands up.
Okay. Yep. How about there?
You see great.
Okay, how about
We've
there?
All been there.
Okay.
Okay. We're on the first slide now. Is that what everyone's seeing?
Yes.
Okay.
The first slide, okay. And then Do you see the agenda slide? No?
I see it in the lineup over on the left, but I see the, why should I hire a veteran?
Wow, this is really
It's showing me your presentations slides on the left.
uh-huh. And then the next slide on the right.
It's the first slide in your presentation on the right. Is shown larger. Ta-da! Okay.
There we go.
Now I can
There
see background
you see
information.
the background information.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, good. I knew we'd get through this eventually. I came into the office today. I usually work remotely, and if I was doing this from at home, I would have it all set up and ready to go. But now I'm I had to borrow a private area for a little while, and it's just not being very friendly to me this morning. So thank you for the help and the feedback there.
All good.
But I like to point out this group of veterans here. They just participated in a flag raising ceremony out at Front Range Community College. And these are all veterans that got out of the military and decided to go to college. And I'm still very much connected with this group, and they're just doing fantastic things in this community. And you'll see more pictures of them later. I always like to talk about how proud I am of them, and they're just a fun group. So some of the background information, since we did away with conscription in the early 70s, it's been an all-volunteer force. So everyone on active duty at this point was a volunteer. Now, who enlists? Well, approximately 82% of our military force is made up of the enlisted corps, and around 18% is made up of the officer corps. The key difference is to become an officer in any of the branches of the military, you have to have at least a 4-year degree. Whereas for the enlisted side, you need a high school diploma. They used to allow, and they still do have waivers for, say, GED, or sometimes they would take folks that hadn't quite finished their high school diploma but agreed to complete it while they were on active duty. But that doesn't happen very often. In fact, I say it doesn't happen very often only because I'm not sure it's 100%, but it's pretty close to 100% have a high school diploma, and around almost 10% have earned college credit. On standardized aptitude tests, almost 80% score in the top half. And because of the military requirements and the issues and the types of jobs that you do, they're high quality, they're drug-free, law-abiding, smart, and educated. And women make up about 15% of the enlisted force and 18% of the officers in our force. Now, one thing that many people may not be aware of is that to enlist in the military, I know when I joined the military at 17, I was fresh out of high school, and my stepfather was an Air Force recruiter. So I was pretty much convinced that I was going to get drafted if I didn't join, even though we didn't have the draft. So I was 17 and didn't know any better, and I joined. And it turns out it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I thought this was interesting. Only around 13% of 17 to 24-year-olds that are not full-time college students are even qualified to enlist without a waiver. In order to get into the military, first of all, you need a high school diploma. You also have to have, every person that joins the military, enlists in the military, has to take the ASVAB. It's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, and it basically tests you on things like math, English, reading, comprehension, things of that nature. If your scores are too low, they won't accept you. Also, medically or physically disqualified. If you had medical, I know I had a really close friend whose son joined the Marine Corps probably about 8 years ago, and he had really severe acne, and he was put on a medication to help him with that, and he had to get a waiver in order to get into the Marine Corps to qualify. So when we say medically or physically disabled, it could be as something as simple as taking certain medication for so much time, as a child, actually. Too many dependents, if you have too many family members, the military recognizes that you're not going to be able to commit full time to the military, that, if you've got 5 or 6 kids, or family, a large family, that you're disqualified. Also, certain tattoos, particularly if they involve like racism or anti um, you know uh, constitution type materials, that can disqualify you. Also, history of criminal activity, that alone, and it's surprising, even too many speeding tickets can disqualify someone from um, enlisting in the military. And then, of course, testing positive. Uh, you know, Throughout your military service, you get random urinalysis tests. You just show up to work one day, and they say you have 30 minutes to report to the hospital, and you know what that means is you're about to get drug tested. Um, and So they test continually throughout your military service, and then prior to you coming in, they test for that. And if you come up hot on some disqualifying drugs, you won't be admitted into the military. And according to the Department of Labor, it's harder to be accepted into the military than it is to be accepted by most secondary education institutions, which is kind of a surprising statistic. But my job and my role as a veteran, I actually, there are several roles under the Jobs for Veterans State Grant. This program, I was, talking with Taylor about this a little before we jumped on, goes back to World War II, and FDR and Truman set this program up because there were a lot of returning veterans from the war, and they found out they no longer had the job they had when they left. So this program has been around for maybe 70 years, 80 years, something like that. But there are three main roles in this program. There's the DVOP, there's the Reaver, and then there are consolidated representatives. Now, what does that mean? Is that if you have veterans, or you know of a veteran that's unemployed and needs assistance, you can you can have them contact me, and that's exactly what I do. Is I help veterans that are struggling. There can be a lot of different reasons why they would qualify for DVOP, or Disabled Veteran Outreach Program support. Basically, they get case management and intensive services. The idea of the DVOP's role is to stabilize the veteran and get them to where that they can concentrate and focus on obtaining full-time employment, or part-time, depending on what their goals are. For example, I have, on the right side, qualifying conditions are things like they have a service-connected disability rating. The VA assigns disability ratings based on incidents that happen while you are serving in the military. I am a disabled veteran. I'm 60% disabled through the VA, and it can be for a wide variety of issues or medical conditions that you incur due to your military service. Also, if you're a Vietnam era veteran, I don't get too many of those anymore, but I do occasionally get them. They are a priority. All of these conditions are set by Congress. Also, if they're homeless, if they're transitioning from the military service and they're on their way out, probably, for example, through a reduction in force, a RIF. I saw several of those when I was on active duty, to where you show up for work one day and you find out you no longer are going to be part of the military in a few months. If they were previously incarcerated, that having a criminal record is often a barrier to employment. I'm working with a local community a program called Criminal Justice Alternatives, and meeting with folks that are about to be reintegrating into society after serving their sentence in Larimer County Jail. And if they're a veteran, they qualify for my assistance in helping them find a job. If they lack I've never seen a veteran, although it's technically possible that I get someone that lacks a high school diploma or equivalent. I've never seen one. But if they do have that, I can help them with that. If they're on any form of public assistance, if they're between the ages of 18 and 24, recently separated, over the past year, and then they were unemployed for more than half of that year, 27 weeks, and then a wounded warrior. A wounded warrior is a very specific program to where someone's become 100% disabled, potentially unemployable, but we still work with them in trying to find appropriate employment for them and help them. The one exception that I can't meet with I can't use the word veteran, because if a military member earns a dishonorable discharge, they're not even considered a veteran legally. And to get a dishonorable discharge, you had to do something pretty severe while you were in the military. We're talking really hardcore felony level. Of course, the military has its own justice system. And if you're convicted and receive a dishonorable discharge, that means you probably went to Leavenworth and are being released from there, and you're stripped of the title of veteran. It's not, there are actually several different possible discharges. The vast majority of those that serve earn an honorable discharge. I'd say well over 90%, but it is possible for them to get, say, a general discharge, other than honorable conditions, bad conduct discharge, or a dishonorable discharge. But my goal, like I said earlier, is to help stabilize them and prepare them for the civilian workforce. It may involve assistance with education and training, like, for example, if they wanted to be an accountant, but they were, say, in the Army and they were in the infantry, they would need a degree. I can connect them with resources that help them get that education and training and prepare them for civilian life. I served for many years overseas, and I got to witness a lot of other countries' military services. And I always like to say, I think we do the best in the world in preparing a civilian to become a military member. We're unparalleled in the world, at least based on my experience. However, the other side of the coin of that is I don't think we do a very good job of preparing a military member to become a civilian again. And you saw that in the voices of the video that I just shared, that it's very frustrating for many military members. They leave this environment where it's highly structured and they know exactly where they fit in and what they're doing and what equipment they have and what they're what their role is, and all of that is gone the minute they get their DD-214. The DD-214 is, of course, their discharge paperwork. So the military is taking steps to help prepare folks that separate from the military. But I know when I went through the program, it was basically, this is how to dress like a civilian and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm not having problems with that. I'm having problems like, well, where do I go to find a job? Or, how do I get help with these medical conditions or things like that? So, but they are working and making improvements on that program. Now, we also have, in addition to the DVOP role throughout the state of Colorado, we also have the REVER role, and it's the Regional Veterans Employment Representative. Whereas the DVOP is concentrating on case management and helping individual veterans transition into civilian employment. The Reaver's job is to connect with businesses such as your businesses that are out there now and help with advising them on veteran type issues and what they can expect from veterans. We can help out with job fairs, virtual job fairs. In fact, and in person, if that's preferred. If in fact, on May 10th, we're having a regional job fair that involves 10 counties in the state of Colorado and 3 counties in Wyoming. And you are certainly welcome to participate in that job fair. If you're interested, just contact me and I can get you set up with that, and it's free. But once again, that'll be May 10th, and just let me know if you're interested. We also, this next one is very important, is to try and educate and help many organizations understand that, veterans bring a wide variety of skills and experience. If you think of every military base is like its own city within itself. And it's designed like that intentionally. Everything on base, everything you need or could possibly need is available on base for you. They have everything from commissary supermarkets to retail stores to hospitals, schools, just about anything you can imagine that you would need. And then they usually, almost always, in every case, they have a uniformed military member that does that work. For example, electricians, we have our own electricians, we have our own security forces and law enforcement. Just about anything you can think of, there's military members doing those jobs on base. And that's often a reflection of that, less than 10% of our population are veterans or have served in the military. And so if you're not familiar with it, most people form a perception of veterans that is formed by Hollywood, because where else are you going to get information on veterans? And Hollywood very rarely gets it right of what it's like to serve in the military. There's only been a couple movies I think I've seen that I was like, yep, that's pretty close to the way it really is. But we also assist veterans on employment issues. Some veterans' spouses may qualify for my assistance or the Reaver's assistance. And it depends basically on the veteran, if they're 100% disabled or they passed away due to service-connected injuries, then they would also qualify for my assistance in connecting with businesses. And then finally, we have the combined representative, and I'm actually a consolidated representative. I do both DVOP, case management, and Reaver, assisting business, half my time. And all of these duties are established by federal law and are tied to the funding of this grant. Now, some of the benefits of hiring veterans, I've already been in contact with multiple organizations and businesses that have shared with me that they've discovered on their own the benefits of hiring a veteran, that they bring very unique skills and a different attitude maybe than some of their peers. Some of the things that you can count on from our veterans, particularly those honorably discharged: accelerated learning curve. You often have to learn things on the fly. I can't think of how many times when I was wearing a uniform where you better figure this out quick. And because you don't always have all the resources and all the information you need to do what you're supposed to be doing, the mission. So you have to figure it out really quick. Leadership, that's cultivated the minute you, well, it even starts in basic training, leadership. I remember I was 22 years old, and I was an E5. I was a non-commissioned officer, and I had airmen that worked for me and reported to me. Responsible for millions of dollars worth of equipment and things like that. And you had to, and they train you, they prepare you for that. There are schools you have to go through in the military to reach certain ranks. So that's one difference I noticed when I got out. Of course, when I retired from the military, the only thing I knew was the military, and I thought it was like that everywhere. Whereas many civilian organizations that I worked for, how do you get promoted? Well, you just do. You're really good at your job, so they promote you to the next level. Whereas leadership and management, those are very different skills than the technical skills associated with the job, and that's why many managers and leaders flounder a bit when they're just starting out. Well, the military sends you to school for those types of things, and they also have unofficial mentoring programs. Also, teamwork is drilled into your head from day one. Um, Military organizations, the squadrons I was assigned to, and groups and wings. It's just a cross section of the entire United States and its population. And there were some people that just didn't like each other or get along. I mean, there were people that I just rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm sure I rubbed them the wrong way. But the thing of it is, we always knew when it came time to get the work done, we got along. I mean, there was never an issue with that. I mean, so teamwork is above all else. And if there's a teamwork issue, it's handled like that by leadership. Diversity, once again, it's a cross section of the United States. I mean, I've worked with everyone from every possible place you can imagine in the United States, but also a lot of people don't know this. People from other countries join the military. It's also a path to citizenship. I worked with people that were from Hungary, that were from England, that were from just about anywhere you can think of that joined the military. And then you're on. They also give efficient performance under pressure. That's a given. Military life, daily military life, it's actually kind of boring, to be honest. But then there are those moments where you have extreme pressure and you have to adapt and have to perform. And this respect for procedures, a good friend of mine who's a veteran says, veterans are habitual rule followers. And I agree with that. We want to know what the rules are. Because we don't want to break rules. We want to know what the boundaries are. And I want to dispel one myth, is that some feel that military members can only do what they're told. That's not true. We actually can work independently very, very well. The thing of it is, we just want to know the rules of engagement. We want to know where are the boundaries, and what, we don't want to step outside of our boundaries. And in the civilian world, it's not very clear what the boundaries are. I've counseled many, many veterans on, because they ask that question, I mean, what are the rules out here? And I say, there's only the law, just don't break the law. You can do anything you want, but just make sure you don't break the law. But other than that, you work with your employer to understand what your boundaries are. And if you're not sure what those are, work with them. Integrity, all the branches have their core values. And I know the Air Force, integrity is one of those core values, doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. Security, health, and safety standards. That's drilled into you once again, on day one of the military. You get somebody who just finished a tour, maybe 4 years in the military, they come out with more security and safety awareness than their peers that did not serve. Because even as far back as basic training, I mean, I remember, you had guard duty at night, and you actually had to walk around and touch every outlet to make sure that it wasn't overheating and cause a possible fire. I think they were just testing you to make sure you could follow procedures, but no, I clearly remember doing that in basic training. And then adversity, you're going to be put in a lot of situations where you're not really sure what to do, and you got to figure it out and make it work. They take personal responsibility for their actions. They act with a sense of urgency and loyalty. They become very loyal to a corporation or an organization that hires them and supports them. They become loyal almost to a fault. Now, what are some of the actual business benefits? Those are some of the, maybe non-tangible benefits. Well, some of you may be aware of the work opportunity tax credit, and the qualifications there are on the left. But your business, if you hire an unemployed veteran that meets one of these this criteria here, one of the elements of that, you could qualify up to $10,000 approximately for each veteran hired. And that's administered by the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And I have a link later here in the presentation that you can take a look at for more information on that. Also, federal bonding. There may be a reason why you want to hire a veteran, but for some reason, your insurance carrier, traditional commercial carrier, may not want or support that hiring, and it could be for any of these reasons here, poor credit history, criminal background, even a dishonorable discharge. But if that is what's being denied insurance, your insurance is saying we can't hire this person, the federal government will bond them at no cost to the employer. And this program is as well administered by the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And I have a link later on that too that I'll be happy to share with you. So these are the resources that are available. I wanted to throw these in here because I know you'll have access to this slideshow. So if you want more information about some of the things that I've talked about, maybe some of the specific questions, I'll be honest, I'm not complete 100% schooled on the work opportunity tax credit or federal bonding, but some of my co-workers are, and you can contact them through these links. I do want to point out this particular website. Some of you maybe are probably already familiar with ONET, but it's basically a big database of all the possible types of jobs in the world. But they have a military crosswalk. And why this is important, and here's the link for it, is you might have a veteran in front of you and they say, well, I was an 11 Bravo in the Army. That means nothing to a civilian, but it means everything to that veteran. They know exactly what that is. If you know what their MOS, their military occupational specialty, or in the Air Force, we said, Air Force specialty career field, AFSC, you can click on this and you can enter their branch of service and what their MOS was, and it will give you a civilianized description of what that means they did. So you can help veterans that may be a perfect fit for your organization, but they can't articulate that. Maybe they're not aware. You can send them to me. I'd be happy to work with them. Or if you want to learn more about exactly what they did in the military, if you know what because a lot of veterans will put their MOS or their AFSC on their resume. I discourage that myself, but not all of them come to see me. So if you want to know and they put their AFSC or MOS on there, you can look it up and see exactly what it is they did while they were in the military. So, to summarize, and we're coming up on our time here, I want to leave a few minutes in case there are questions. We gave some background information. We talked about the Jobs for Veterans State Grant Program, some of the benefits and resources. And I just really want to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to come speak with you. Particularly, Taylor and Yvonne and Chad were some of the folks that I've been working for this on. I'd be happy to come meet with any business that has questions about veterans and setting up a veteran-friendly hiring environment. I'm welcome. You're welcome to contact me directly, and I can do that. And here are some more pictures of that veterans group I was telling you about, that we go out and we do all kinds of fun things together. We gone to a range day a couple times in a year, and we've gone bowling. We went to a CSU football game. They're just a very active group. So thank you for your time, and I will stop sharing here and open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions?
I'll go if everybody else is shy.
Sure.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I work for a company that provides correctional detention facilities, healthcare. So pretty specific little area in the world. But we have had some good experiences with veterans, and we actually are collecting an award for, veteran hiring, et cetera, and support in Texas in the next month.
Congratulations.
So proud to say that, but we can do so much more. So I'm, full disclosure, I'm the marketing wonk behind Core Health and what we do and what we look like and how we sound out to the public and to our candidates. So to our candidates, I'm trying to do a better job just appealing to the things that really would reach them. And because we've had some successes and we've had some not so great successes, but we're learning along the way. And I'm wondering if there is a resource like you in Texas and in New Mexico as well.
Certainly. I do have a list of folks, points of
Awesome.
contact in other states. Now it's a year old, so I may run it through my boss and see if I got an updated list, but Texas and New Mexico, you say?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We, and Wyoming too. So
Texas.
Now that we've got you in Colorado, that's fantastic. Just quickly, I wondered, I know all the things that you mentioned, the leadership, teamwork, diversity, performance under pressure, all the things that you mentioned are things that our healthcare providers inside the detention centers, this is what they go through every day, and a heightened sense of security, et cetera. But they also realize that this population is a very vulnerable population. And sometimes when they come to the medical facility, they haven't been to a doctor in 10 years, so they're fragile. And this is this may be the human touch that they haven't had in so long. So it's a very, I'll say, sensitive kind of situation. So we need people that have, been in a situation like that before, or if they have been, if they've been in the field, if they've been in active duty, if they have seen that kind of thing. We certainly don't want to, have a trigger, but we do want to have somebody that knows, like, right, this person is in shock. This person is stressed out, or they have, their diabetes is tapped out, and they're, they're about to go into, anaphylactic shock because of some other thing, and that they can, like, solve the problem right away. So they don't pause. They don't, stop to say, well, I need to ask my boss if I should, take their temperature. It's like, no, do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that that's like our tagline is do right. So I feel like our ethos and military veterans really mesh very well, but we need to reach them on a level that will mean something to them. So that's the information that you gave today is so good, and I really, really appreciate it. But I do need to gather resources like you for our recruiters, and so that the things that I'm doing can resonate with them. Are there any things,
Certainly.
sorry, I'm getting to a question. Are there
Certainly.
any things that I can say in our online advertisements and in our job descriptions and things like that that will let them know that we speak their language?
Well, certainly.
Phew.
One of the best things you can do is simply state in your postings that we are veteran friendly and we seek to provide opportunities for veterans and their family members as well. If you want to include that, that's one of the best things you can do. As I mentioned before, when you get out of the military, no matter what you want to do, there's a procedure and there's a way you can get whatever you want, and you know how to do it. I mean, to this day, I mean, I retired a long time ago from the Air Force. I could go on to any base, and if I saw something that needed to be fixed, I know the form that needs to be filled out and which unit that will go to, because it's the same no matter where you go. Well, when you get out of the military, you're really not sure. You're overwhelmed with how do I know this person is going to be veteran friendly? I mean, one of them is simply stating that right out front. That's one thing that I would really encourage our leaders throughout the country to work on at both the state, federal level, but also, businesses is, someone who is a Navy corpsman. They should be able to get out and have a nursing job, nursing credentials, because most of them, particularly if they served in a combat zone, they literally ran an ER under,
Oh, great.
I mean, that's what they did. That's what a Navy corpsman does is, they're attached usually to a Marine Corps unit, and they patch them up and stabilize them until they can get to the hospital. I also I had an assistant out when I worked at Front Range Community College that she spent 8 years in the Army, and she was a veterinary technician. They have those in the military. The Air Force does, the Army does, vet techs. When she got out, nobody would hire her because she didn't have the degree. She's got 8 years of experience. She could have taught some of those classes. So she went to Front Range to take the classes. And like I said, she literally could have taught some of those classes herself.
Wow.
So somehow, or if you've got somebody that was in the Army and they worked in the motor pool, when they get out, I mean, they can drive a CDLE. I mean, they should have a CDLE. Maybe there's a bypass test for veterans that you have to demonstrate the skills of driving an 18-wheeler, like a one-day thing. No, they have to go through the full weeks-long class to do that, because their military experience doesn't count. So there are a lot of things that I think we can do. Maybe a veteran doesn't have the actual technical degree.
Mhm.
We can help them get that part done, but you can give them as a condition of employment. Look, if you get your degree finished within, or certification, whatever it might be, within 2 years, a year, whatever is reasonable, you will give you a permanent position. But that's where, like I said, that so many veterans are just overwhelmed. They don't know what they don't know, and I can speak from experience. Getting out, I didn't have a clue as to what I was doing. I wasn't aware of programs like I currently work in either.
Well, I appreciate that. We have a tuition reimbursement program. So if somebody has, they have 2 years of nursing school under their belt and they're on their way,
Okay.
we'll help with tuition to, finish it out, or just to, they decide to become an RN or what have you. There's, it's not limited at the moment to how much reimbursement they would get. So hopefully they would stick with us the whole time. Thank you
Sure.
so much.
Yeah.
I look forward to talking to you more.
Okay. Well, if you'll send me a quick email, and I've got my email information, I'll research for New Mexico and Texas. I already know the Wyoming folks. They're up there in Cheyenne, so I can connect you with them as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, were there any other questions out there? Okay.
So I hogged all the time. Thank you.
No
Thank you.
worries. No, I appreciate your questions, because those are great questions, and you know, a lot of businesses are a bit stumped on, well, how do I go about setting up a veteran? You know, another thing you can do is a little bit of an orientation. For our final minute here, you know, if they're a veteran and you know they just got discharged, they are going to go through. It's almost like trauma, trying to reassociate back to civilian life. You'd think it'd be easy, but it's really not. You know, those years 18 to 22, 25, whatever it might be, are very formative years. And the longer you stay in the military, the more accustomed you become to that. Well, this is the way things are everywhere, and it's not. It's there are some things that are different procedurally, and they just maybe need some help. You know, veterans expect, you know, if I ask a question, I'll get a quick answer back on this, and you may not. Or another thing I noticed is that if a meeting is at 10 o'clock, if you're not there 10 minutes early, you're late. So it's not like that in the civilian world at all.
Love that.
And I just went ahead and put Chuck's email in the chat if you wanted to just copy that out real quick so you can
Oh, thank you.
get connected. Any last minute thoughts before we wrap up? Or all right. Well, I wanted to just shout out a huge thank you to Chuck for all the great work that you're doing, and really appreciate you sharing a little bit of insight into all the resources that we can, you know, tap into you for to get veterans better connected into civilian life. And please do reach out and utilize these resources as you move forward in your business.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thanks again.
Well, yeah, thanks, Chuck. And I hope everybody enjoys a wonderful rest of your Valentine's. And we look forward to hopefully seeing everybody at the next talent series.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.